Peace, and welcome to another Oddly Familiar. Today, we have episode 57. It's been a while since we had a classic style episode, so that's what we will be doing today. With no further delay, here's episode 57. Number 10 comes from Bad Dudes, the ending theme. And now, the theme for the President of the United States. A game where the goal is to rescue the president. And once you beat the game, this theme kicks in. You are victorious and the president is safe. You can also find it on the arcade. Although I prefer this one on the NES, here is the arcade version. On a side note, the Japanese ending theme is different, and it starts out oddly familiar, then goes off in its own direction. See if you can catch it. The theme starts off with the Star Spangled Banner for about 4 or 5 notes, and then it switches it up. Both the Japanese and American versions reference the United States, and it makes perfect sense. I just found it funny that the Japanese ending theme only wanted to use a short snippet of the Star Spangled Banner when it's public domain. They could have easily used the entire thing and not faced any legal repercussions. On the oddly scale, this one gets a 9 out of 10, only because 10 is saved for samples. Number 9, the Sonic Spinball Options Menu theme. And here is the theme to Baby Bottle Pop.
Dip it and shake it, and lick it again. It's a baby bottle pop, baby bottle pop.
Baby bottle pops, a candy pop you lick and dip.
Coming from Quantum X, this oddly entry isn't exactly the same like our previous one. But on the oddly scale, we rank this one a 4 out of 10. Almost 5 out of 10, but not quite. Baby Bottle Pop is a brand of lollipops introduced by Topps in 1988. You may know that company from their baseball cards. Sonic Spinball was first released in 1993, so there's no way Sega was influenced by Topps. However, could this be a case where Topps was influenced by a game? I doubt it, and until someone says otherwise, I'm going to chalk this one up as coincidence.
It's a baby bottle pop, baby bottle pop.
Number 8 is from the game Point Blank, the bonus theme. Yet again, James Brown, get up off of that thing.
I'm back! Get up off of that thing!
Point Blank is an arcade game that was first released in 1994 and then later ported to the PS1 in 1997 and Nintendo DS in 2006. This specific theme was not in the arcade version, but it was created for the PS1 soundtrack. I contacted Grant Kirkhope, who sampled this same sound, and he stated it comes from the Roland JV-1080. There is a chance the composer from Point Blank sampled this directly from James Brown. However, more likely, they just used a Roland JV-1080 and composed this soundtrack using it. Of course, on our oddly scale, this one receives a 10 out of 10. I believe it to be a sample of a sample.
I'm back! Get up off of that!
lucky number 7 is from Sonic Rush, a track titled Right There, Right On. Let's compare that to one from Jet Grind Radio, Rock It On. Our lucky number 7 is of course by Hideki Naganuma, the Funky Uncle. He may well be best known for composing the Jet Grind Radio soundtrack, but then right behind that I think would be the Sonic Rush soundtrack. These two themes sound identical, and back in 2014, the Super Spin D tweeted and asked him if it was intentional or maybe even the same sample. Hideki responded and said yep. I am not sure if the yep answer includes the sample portion of the question, but at the very least it was intentional. Sonic Rush was first released in 2005, while Jet Grind Radio was released 5 years earlier in 2000. Next time you play either of the games, you may just hear some similarities. On our Oddly scale, I would rank this a 10, because I do believe that is a sample. Sonic Rush only plays the first portion of the riff, while Jet Grind lets it play out just a little bit longer. Number 6, from Conker's Bad Fur Day, a theme titled Good Cog, Bad Cog. And here is Powerhouse by Raymond Scott. We have another viewer submission. SB Lover 99 suggested that Conker's Bad Fur Day has a theme that sounds like Powerhouse. Pulled it up and took a listen, and I would say it's quite similar. There are a few notes that are changed here and there, but the feel of the theme is there. I would say it sounds like a parody, and Conker is known for parodies. We have had the franchise in the series before, and I am sure this is not the last time you will see Conker music in an oddly familiar episode. On our Oddly scale, this one ranks a 6 out of 10. It's just the beginning portion of the Conker track, and they did change it up a little bit. However, the feel is there. You can kind of tell what vibe they were aiming for. Number 5 is from the new Tetris on the N64. The Japan theme. And now we have an old Japanese song titled Soran Bushi. While doing research for one of our top 10 videos, we were listening to the soundtrack for the new Tetris. When we got to the Japan theme, I heard a familiar sound that I was not expecting, but as soon as I heard it, I knew exactly what it was. This is one of the most famous traditional songs in Japan. I don't remember where I first heard it, and since Wiki doesn't really have much info on it, I decided to ask a friend from Japan about it. He said it's probably from the early 1700s, and I asked if he knows it, and he laughed after he basically said of course. The new Tetris soundtrack was composed and arranged by Neil Voss. He is the same composer that worked on Tetrisphere, also for the Nintendo 64. And that soundtrack won the Best Soundtrack Award from Nintendo Power. You can find some more of his work on the game Racing Gears Advance for the GBA. On the Oddly scale, we do have another 10 out of 10. This is a clear-cut sample. Number 4, we have the oddly of all oddlies, good old Elec Man. And here is Mega NRG Man, back to 80s.
Get me back to this, baby. Back to this. Please some go.
So it's been a while since we had an Elec Man cameo, and probably too long. The most overused riff in all of music. I would like to see one more popular, but I am not sure one exists. You may recognize Mega NRG Man from the soundtrack of Initial D, and that's how I first heard of him, so I can't help but think about Initial D and Elec Man. And it's probably just a coincidence one is named Mega Man, and the other is named Mega NRG Man. This Mega NRG Man song comes from 2008, while Elec Man comes from the first Mega Man game that was released in 1987. On our oddly scale, this gets 1 Elec Man out of 1.
Get me back to this, baby.
Number 3 comes from Cuphead, Funfair Fever. And here is the Super Mario World athletic theme. Our next up is one that we have known for a while, but we are just now getting around to it. We have a long list of entries. Like these comments here, you can tell people have been waiting quite a while. If you have left a comment, you never know when we will get to it. I think the piano style that is used in both of these themes can be classified as ragtime. An old school piano style that was popular in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The Mario theme was composed by the one and only Koji Kondo, while the Cuphead theme was composed by Christopher Madigan. On our oddly scale, we rank this one a 7 out of 10, because it's just a small portion of the overall theme, but it is quite similar. Number 2, Donkey Kong 94, the Forest theme. And here is the theme for Beach Blanket Bingo.
Beach blanket bingo. Beach blanket bingo. Beach blanket bingo.
Coming from the 1994 Donkey Kong game on the Game Boy, this plays during World 2, and the melody is similar to the theme of Beach Blanket Bingo, which is a movie from 1965 starring Frankie Avalon. He appeared in many movies, including one of my favorites, Casino. This Donkey Kong 94 theme gets a 5 out of 10 on our oddly scale. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it does kind of sound similar. I would chalk it up as coincidence, kind of like our number 9 spot on this list. Number 1, Bully, EHQMX Nerds. And this comes from a sample library by Spectrasonics. Our top spot today is a repeat offender. This sample has been used numerous times. My favorite one would be from Timesplitters. You may remember it from our top 10 horror themes in gaming. about 10 more usages of this sample that we know about, so we might have an Oddly episode just for this single sound. It's not as popular as Elec Man, so don't expect 50 or 60 different submissions, but I am sure most people have heard this before. This receives a 10 out of 10. It comes from the Symphony of Voices sample library by Spectrasonics, which you can pick up for the low price of $499.
Blaze had dissipated, but the...
So there you have episode 57 of Oddly Familiar. And we do think our next episode is interesting. It's about an all-new aspect that we haven't talked about yet, but one that we have been meaning to get around to. Last but not least, shout out to gold level patrons, Bear Sona, Quantum X, and Chris Hayes. I'm ICC, thanks for watching, peace.